the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus makes a very strong declaration. Matthew 16:18. Now, this is not something soft or casual, and it's not something symbolic that's fluffy. It's a declaration, and it's a declaration of war. Jesus looks at Peter, which his name right now is Simon, and he says, "On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Let's unpack this, though, because this is not just like a scripture reference to say that we were going to build a church and a building. This is a scripture reference about foundations. And the foundations are never built in comfort, not when it comes to our walk with God. Now, first, understanding the setting that this conversation happens in Caesarea Philippi, a place full of idols, false gods, massive rock cliff where pagans would worship, and was also, to some theologians, considered a gateway to hell. Jesus declares it right here. So when Jesus says, "On this rock," he is not standing in a quiet sanctuary. He is standing in a spiritual opposition war ground. In other words, God chose to announce his church in hostile territory. That alone should shift how we think of things as Christians, because many times we're waiting for God to build our season in a peaceful place. We're waiting to be built under that, but he doesn't build us like that. He builds us under pressure. He builds us under tension and chaos and contested spaces, because that is what we were sent here to do. Now, let's take this even deeper. Jesus renames Simon and calls him Peter at this time, which means rock. But in the original language, there are two different meanings for this word. Petros, meaning a stone, and Petra, meaning a massive bedrock foundation. So Jesus is doing something really profound here, not just proclaiming one thing. He's not just affirming a man, he is affirming a revelation as well. Right before this moment, Peter declares, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus responds, "Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father in heaven." Now don't miss this part. Revelation came first, then identity, then assignment, then the building foundations. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Jesus says, "I will build my church," not a man's church, not a culture's church, not a performance-driven church, but his church. And the word used there is ecclesia, not a building, not a stage, not a brand. It means a called out assembly with purpose and authority. Now listen carefully as Jesus speaks direct warfare language. He says, "The gates of hell will not prevail against it." He's literally standing at the gates. A gate is a defensive structure, which means the church was never designed to be in hiding. It was never designed for retreat or surviving. It was designed to advance. We've been taught to think, hold on till Jesus comes back. But Jesus himself said, "You will push back the darkness." Not because you are loud, not because you are perfect, not because you are built on your own platforms, but because you're founded on the rock. This will preach. God renamed Simon to Peter before the church even existed. Now, why would he do it like that? Because God will often rename you according to your destiny, not your history. Could you imagine if it was the opposite? Abram became Abraham, Jacob became Israel, and Simon became Peter. Which means your current condition does not disqualify your future calling. Peter was impulsive, Peter doubted, and he failed publicly. Yet, Jesus still called him rock. Because God doesn't build on flawless people. He builds on surrendered ones. But don't let me lose you yet. This is the final layer. Jesus did not say, "You will build my church." He said, "I will build my church." That means the weight is not on your performance. The pressure is not on your perfection. The responsibility is not on your strength. The builder is Christ. And when Christ is the builder, opposition is inevitable, but collapse is impossible. Let me repeat that one more time. When Christ is the builder, opposition is inevitable, but collapse is impossible. So what is the rock? It is the revelation of who Jesus is. It is the identity God speaks over you. It is the foundation that does not move when storms come. And hear me clearly when I say this. If your life is built on trends, it will shake. If your life is built on opinions, it will crack. If your life is built on approval, it will crumble. But if your life is built on the revelation of Christ, hell itself cannot outlast what God is constructing in you. Not because you are unbreakable, but because your foundation is. So today the real question is not, is God building? He is. The question is, what are you standing on? Because when you stand on the rock, you don't just survive storms. You become part of something eternal that darkness cannot prevail against. I would love it to hear from you guys. I love you so much. I hope your day is amazing, and I hope this hits you the way it hit me. As always, I will see you next time, and stay salty.